Well, Razorback fans, I got asked the question about John Calipari in Arkansas. Does college basketball actually want them in the NCAA tournament? Well, let's talk about it in today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday, as we'll have a few things to discuss. Of course, last night's Vice show, which we always have fun with, and recapping that as it happens every Monday night. And also, we'll get into a little, we'll talk with NIL and raffle and 50-50, because I know that that's something that a lot of people have definitely been interested in. But, you know, we talked yesterday about Arkansas being in the NCAA tournament and how that game against Missouri, it felt like that could be the one that really sets you over the edge and gets you to that place to where you can finally bust through, have that type of great showing and everything, and really become what everyone is hoping that you do become, which is, of course, not only an NCAA tournament team, but a tournament team that could really start some noise and be able to go on a run in some capacity. What that looks like, how far that is, you know, I guess it's really up to the fates and to the gods of basketball. But, like, still think you're in the NCAA tournament. You're a bubble team and whatnot. But there's so many factors that go into the NCAA tournament and in the committee and who they decide to get in and how they want it to be done and everything, that sometimes it's almost like overwhelming. You know, some of you, and when I say some of you, it's not like I've gotten a lot of people saying this, but just people in general have a feeling that to get to the NCAA tournament, it's like, well, you got to get 20 wins, or you got to go over 500 in your conference play. And that stuff just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, you're talking about Arkansas more than likely going to be making the NCAA tournament by not getting a 20 regular season wins and not having an above 500 SEC record. And it seems pretty normal. It seems like that's just kind of the way it is, and that's fine. I'm fine with it. I think you should be fine with it too, because you get it in the NCAA tournament. It's all that matters in the end. But one thing that I don't think we, and when I say we here in Arkansas, and those who talk about Arkansas and those who are fans of Arkansas, have really gotten a chance to get the vibes of the Cal effect. Sure, there's been some ripple effects from it, some things that have transpired to make you all and feel like, okay, well, this is getting more attention. You know, like for instance, that Vice documentary. You know, that obviously shows that there's a lot of interest in John Calipari and what he's doing at Arkansas. Yeah, you think about the games and the attention that is given to John Calipari in Arkansas whenever they win big games and whenever they lose games. There was a stretch there, especially in the beginning part of the SEC slate, when Arkansas was struggling so much that every time Arkansas played, no matter who it was against, no matter what type of game it was such a leadoff factor in so many minds of college basketball, because that's the type of impact that John Calipari can make. Is just having people be interested in you and interested in you all the time, whether you win or whether you lose. It's a story to them. So we've seen a little bit of the Cal factor and the Cal impact from that, throwing in the scheduling, because I still believe that playing Madison Square Garden against Michigan was 100% a Cal thing. Playing Kansas in an exhibition game was a Cal thing. And I think that next year's schedule is going to be even more insane. I can't wait to see how it all plays out and what they end up scheduling. But we see pieces of it here and there. But the one thing about it is that when it comes to those teams that might be on the bubble, which, let's be honest, Arkansas is a bubble team right now. They're fighting for it. They're in good position, but they're still a bubble team. And the question becomes, if you're the committee, and if you're going through the rankings of the net, if you're going through all the things that you factor in, all the numbers and analytics and all of those things, trying to decide if the Arkansas Razorback basketball team is a team that you deem worthy of being in the NCAA tournament, I'm just going to be honest. Arkansas is going to get in. If there's ever just a sliver of hope, a sliver of possibility of them getting in the tournament, they're going to get the nod. There's just no way I believe that John Calipari and the Razorbacks get left out of the NCAA tournament. Now, obviously, if it's pretty obvious that they are not a tournament team, as in, like, they're not a bubble team, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bubbles, all right? Yeah, if they were a team that went 5-13 or whatever in the NCAA or in the SEC, then yeah, that would be a little bit of a difference maker, and yeah, that would happen. I mean, because Cal has missed the tournament before. When he was at Kentucky, he missed it a few times. So it's not unprecedented. But I'm talking about when you're on the bubble. I just don't think that there's any way that Cal and Arkansas miss out on the NCAA tournament. And it has really nothing to do with some sort of privilege, because some people will say that it's like, oh, you get just this privilege that you bump some other deserving team because you have Cal, and you feel like there should be some other guys and some other people that should be there instead. It's not that. It's not that at all, in fact. I just think that when you talk about teams, when you talk about the quality of teams, and when you talk about the teams that are right there on the bubble, you'd be hard-pressed to not only leave a team out of the SEC, which the conference has been electric and one of the best conferences around, especially this year, but you think about the type of way that they're playing towards the end of the year. You think about the type of talent that they have, the type of impact that they have. I think Arkansas is going to get that nod, yes, because Calipari is your head coach, but also because of all the bubble teams, you seem to be the one in the best position. You seem like, with your quad one victories and your net ranking and everything, especially here down the stretch, you're going to get the nod. Cal needs to be in the NCAA tournament. And there may be some Kentucky fans that hear that and they get mad about it, or just fans in general, they get mad about it, but it's the truth. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't think you should either, Razorback fans. You know why? Because too often in every sport, you have never gotten that benefit. You've never gotten the benefit of the doubt. This isn't a poor, pitiful Arkansas thing. It's the truth. No one's ever believed in you. You're never going to get the nod. I always laugh about, for example, that 2011 football season when Arkansas was number 3 in the country heading into the final regular season game against number 1 LSU, and Bama was number 2. Y'all remember that LSU played in the SEC title game, they won, and then they faced Bama in the national championship, and Bama ended up winning, and then that's what led to the playoff, like all of that. Folks, if you think for a second that if Arkansas would have beaten LSU that year as the number 3 team and would have gotten into the national championship game, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. We're like, wait. Well, if they beat number 3, if they were number 3 and they beat number 1, then that would move them up to number 2, and then it'd be Bama. But here's the kicker, though, folks. LSU would have still gone to the SEC championship game, or LSU would have still gone to the SEC championship game because, well, I guess at that point, Bama would have gone to the SEC championship game because they had a higher BCS ranking. That's how it was done. And everybody involved would have found a way to make sure that Arkansas was not in that title game. They wouldn't have gotten the same benefit that LSU did or that Bama did. And you're crazy if you think otherwise. That's just one of many examples that will prove to you that in the history of Razorback sports, just assuming you're going to get the benefit usually ends in a bad spot for you. Usually ends in a not so great situation. So many times it's happened. You've gotten left out. You've gotten passed over. You've gotten just thrown to the wayside because you're Arkansas and we feel like there's someone more deserving. Even in the coaches, like Nolan Richardson always talked about it, getting respect. He never felt like he got it. Muss was always feeling like he had to go ahead of and against everybody. All these coaches in the same way in football. There's always just that mentality that comes along with it. But with Cal, it's not that anymore, is it? With Cal, it's, well, yeah, we got to get Cal in. It's almost like getting the VIP treatment. You go to the club, and they got all these people waiting outside in the line, and then somebody sees Cal, and they're like, come on, skip the line. Everyone's like, why? Well, it's John Calipari. It's going to be the same thing when it comes to a lot of the benefits that Arkansas needs to reap from. A lot of those things of being just getting in front of the line, getting to cut in front of everybody, getting to establish yourself as that. There's just so many things that will come along with it. And it's going to be a weird feeling. And it has been a weird feeling, to be honest, to get that benefit. And so anybody that thinks that Arkansas is not going to get into the NCAA tournament or they're not deserving of getting into the NCAA tournament, you're beside yourself and you're crazy. Cal's going to find a way. If they're a bubble team, they're going to find a way to put Cal in there. They're not going to leave him out. So you'll hope that you don't just stay on the bubble. You hope you do enough here in the final 4 games to where you don't have to worry about being on the bubble and you're just firmly in the NCAA tournament. But if not, if you're flirting with it, if you're still thinking about whether or not you're a tournament team, no, don't worry. You got John Calipari. He'll get you in because he's John Calipari and he's the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. And I love it. And I'm not going to apologize for it. All right, we're going to talk about a little bit about this latest in this NIL raffle 50-50 thing. I know a lot of you are probably tired of it, but I think it's pretty important to bring up. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. March basketball is nearly here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, which is the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less of at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. And this week, you're going to be looking at different players for different examples. Like if you're Jason Tatum to have more than 29 points, or Anthony Davis to have more than 12 rebounds. I mean, there's just a lot of those things that you could throw in for any type of player that's out there in the NBA, and you can make your picks in 60 seconds or less and stay engaged all game long. As well as when you win, you got to see that, hey, your money's going to hit your account in as little as 15 minutes, no waiting around. PrizePicks even offers weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, where you get discounted player projections for even more value. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I know this is one that is, you can call it controversial, you could call it heated, you could call it political, you can call it whatever you want. But I know a lot of you Razorback fans have really cared about this, and I'm one of them. And it's about the 50-50 NIL raffle that's going on and the voting that's going on with it too. A lot of you have been very invested into this. And some of you don't really know much about it at all. You just kind of know, okay, well, what am I supposed to know? What is going on? Well, I want to bring this up to you all because I want to kind of set the record straight on some things that means a lot to me and something that I'm passionate about. And so bear with me on it. But the first thing, for those of you who may not know what it is or what's going on, let me just kind of break it down and try to make it as simple as possible. Because sometimes I even get confused. But essentially what it is that you have this bill that's trying to get passed by certain people on one side of the aisle, where they're wanting to have an NIL raffle 50-50 where fans can put in money for a raffle and then they raffle it out. And 50% of those earnings go to the person who wins it. And the other 50% goes towards whatever the university chooses it to go to. That's what's the setup right now. And that's what's the bills that's trying to be proposed. Not that the U of A or anybody would have the money direct to go to NIL. It could if they wanted it to, but it can go to anything that the universities want. So it could go to payroll. It could go to the facility. It could go to buyouts. It could go to anything. That's what one side of the aisle is wanting to do. Let the universities be in charge of doing a 50-50 raffle and keep casinos out. While the other side of it, you have people like Carlton, Saffa, who's a friend of mine, and Bet Saracen in the Saracen Casino, who's wanting to take charge of the 50-50 raffle and open it up to where anybody can do it. That doesn't exclude casinos. Like Saracen can do it, Oakland can do it, anybody can do it in the casino realm. And they want to do it in the way of having all of it set up through their app. It's already functioning. They've already got it fully set up, ready to go. They've done all the research. They've done all the technology. They have it approved. They have it just ready to go right now, and they'll be in control of it, where all the raffles that they do, 50% of it will go to the winner, and 50% of it will go towards NIL. That's what it'll go to. That's why they call it the 50-50 NIL raffle. So that's pretty much where it's at. You got one side that's wanting to universities to handle it, where the 50% that they take can go wherever they want it to. And you have the other side where they're wanting the casinos and everybody to be able to handle it, where 50% of it goes towards NIL. So as you can see, it's kind of a complicated thing and stuff that's going to be passed into law. But there are just a few things and a few counter arguments to what, because I'm going to be honest, and I don't think anyone's surprised, especially if they've listened to my show on Inside Arkansas or know me, but I'm just about more money for NIL for the Razorbacks. It's as simple as that. I want the university to do the best they possibly can athletically when it comes to NIL. Plain and simple. And I just really have a hard time believing that something like this, that could be as lucrative as this, is best served and being best handled by the University of Arkansas, or any university for that matter in the state. Like, imagine this. Like, you want the university, a place where they have so much else going on. It's an education and higher learning and all of that. They have coaches, they have salaries, they have NIL, they have facilities, they got Razorback funding, they got all this stuff going on. And then you throw in this whole new element that they've never done before, dealing with raffling, and expect them to have all the technology that they want. Well, the thing is that they're not going to handle it. They're going to have a third party do it out of Canada, where they're going to take 15% of the cut if that was to happen. And it's not even an app that'll be done. It's a web browser. So you'd have to go online. Like, it's just very archaic and something that doesn't really seem like it's set up to be. So I'm about, hey, let pros handle the pro stuff. Let the gaming people handle the gaming stuff. And then that way you can really make the most out of it and make the most money out of it. Now, here are a few counter arguments that I've heard. And I'll run through these real quick. But some people are saying, well, the only reason that Saracen and Carlton and everybody's on board with this because they want to line their own pockets. They're all about their own money and everything. Well, it is true that in conclusion with what Carlton and all of them are trying to do is with iGaming. And that is something that some people are opposed against. But people saying, oh, they're going to line up their own pockets with that. Well, first off, the 50-50 raffle is 100% not, they're not going to make any profit off of that. That's no profit to Saracen or to anybody. That profit is going to the person who wins it and to the NIL. Where the profit comes in is with iGaming. And the thing is that by what Carlton wants to do, everybody will do it. Everybody can do it. He's even offered it up to where he'll give the other casinos the ability and the technology that he's used, that they've spent so much money on, for them to use it for free of charge, because he wants this so badly. So it sets it up to where other casinos can make just as much money if they want to do it. But it's a matter of if they want to do it. So that to me is one thing. Another thing is like, hey, the U of A should be in control of their own raffle. It's their sports, and it would go to NIL so much smoother and easier. Well, again, it goes back to the point that the U of A, if they handled it, they get to choose wherever that money goes, and you'll never know. You'll never have a clue where it goes. It could go into Hunter Yurachek's pocket. I don't think it would. I would hope it wouldn't, but it could theoretically, and you would never have to know about it. Because again, that's what the bill they're signing, is that they not specifically saying it's towards NIL. They're just saying it's the U of A gets it. That's a very important detail, folks, that you have to realize. Some people say, well, this is what the U of A wants. Why would they oppose the bill if it would be more money to them? Well, again, going back to not only them being able to, decide where all the money goes, but also it's about control at the end of the day. We know that, especially here at the University of Arkansas and with the Razorback athletic program, as much as I love it, it's about control. They're the biggest game in town. Nobody has to compete against them when it comes to professional sports or any other major colleges. So what do they want all the time? Control, control, control. The University of Arkansas is that only child where they've had everything given to them. They never have to work for anything. They're spoiled, rotten little brats, and they never want to share. They never want to do things for the betterment of anybody else. It's only about them. And what else are you going to do? You're going to have another grandkid because there's no other grandkids you can give presents to. You're going to have another kid and you don't have any. I'm the only one. I'm the benefactor. I get all the money. The University of Arkansas is the only child. So they're not going to give that up. And that's why they want it, is because, again, it's about control, control, control. And I've also heard some people, and one of the politicians here in the state of Arkansas has also said, it's really about promotion. Kentucky, because Kentucky also had something like this when it had come to the 50-50 raffle done through the universities, and it was like $5,000 that was given, which is a, pot to piss in maybe. But, it was brought up, well, they just didn't promote it correctly. It's about promotion. Folks, do you really expect the University of Arkansas and the athletic department to promote a raffle if they have it? They can't even promote Arkansas Edge. That thing is a disaster, as I've talked about many times. They don't promote their own events properly. I felt like that tip-off tour down there in Pine Bluff and in Hot Springs, no one knew what it was. No one knew what it was going to. No one had any clue because it just wasn't promoted properly. So you think that they can't even promote their own sports well enough and their own NIL collective well enough. Do you think they're going to promote the raffle well enough? Let's get real. Let's be honest about it. But again, I've rambled on enough about this, but my whole point is, folks, at the end of the day, do your own research. Don't listen to me. Just don't listen to just me. Well, listen to me, but don't just listen to me. Listen to all the sides. Find out your most research. Carlton's actually going to be joining my show on Inside Arkansas Live today to talk more about it. And it comes down to this, and this will be my final point. Regardless of connections, who on side you are, or anything like this, I feel this very, very strongly when it comes to politics and pretty much anything in life. If you have one side that is open, transparent, willing to talk, willing to discuss, willing to debate, willing to do all of these things to try to present arguments and try to present things that will help everybody understand the pros and the cons from both sides and be able to come to a reasonable, logical conclusion. And then the other side is dead silent across the land, except for sending their little messaging to their little messengers and expecting them to carry the water for them. What do you think is going to be the end game here? What do you think is going to be the process here? Who do you think everyone's going to side with? Just saying, that's how I view it. But do your research, listen to every side of it, and come up with your own conclusion. But it's going to be a big thing, because I'm telling you right now, folks, I'm sick and tired of the state of Arkansas and the University of Arkansas and the Razorbacks, the team, the program that I love. I'm tired of them getting left behind because of stupid stuff like this. I'm tired of them being behind other schools that they should be ahead of because of stupid stuff like this where they get in their own way. I'm tired of it. And I really hope that the right thing is done. And I really hope that this ends up being the case, because ADs are going to come and go. Coaches are going to come and go. Players are going to come and go. But the fans are going to remain. These businesses are going to remain, and the laws are going to remain. And I just really don't want the law, like something like this, of this big of a magnitude, to be done because of one person who may not even be here next year. That's all I'm saying. Enough of that. We're going to recap a little bit of that Vice show, Razor's Edge, with John Calipari. Episode 3 came out last night, so we'll do that here in a second. So stay with us on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Folks, if you haven't had a chance to watch Razor's Edge on Vice, it's really good. It's the, I think I've explained it a few times, but it's essentially the documentary following around John Calipari in his first year at Arkansas. And I think it's really well done of telling the story and trying to do it to where, I've met with Jen and Joel and the people that are doing it with Omaha Productions, and they're doing a phenomenal job. They're great people, and they're really trying to tell a story, and I really like what they're doing. And what makes them so talented is how, they came into the season just like everybody did, like wanting to tell a specific story about the successes of this year. And it was a major struggle. And so they've had to change the story a lot of ways and trying to say how it's told and what to focus on and everything. So I know it's a very difficult thing. I couldn't imagine what it's like trying to deal with all that. But I've enjoyed it. I really have. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. Like, I'm really enjoying it and getting behind the scenes. And last night's episode was really good. I got to see more of the side of Cal when it comes to his way of approaching the communities and helping out people who are in need. I think that was the really most important thing. And also him just, you can tell whatever you want to say about Cal. Oh, he doesn't care about winning championships or everything. Well, you can tell in a documentary like what was last night in that episode, he cares and he gets mad and he gets fed up and he yells and he gets after them, and with their poor play and the demands that he has, like he gets into it. So it was really good to see that side of it. And on top of it too, of just, again, the community part of it, I know Cal does a good job with it. I've always said that Cal's done a great job with it, but how much of it is like a thing? Like how much of it do we see the intricacies? How much is he involved? And it was really cool to see like a Christmas deal that they had with kids and families that are, kind of downtrodden, and talking about when he was with Kentucky and the tornadoes that they have. So, and just Cal's a good dude. And as much as I wouldn't have said it before when he was a different coach, now that he's here and you get to see what he does, he's a great dude. He's a great guy, great man, and means really well. I mean, he's got to win games. I know that's the end of the day. That's the most important thing. But as far as him as a person, I highly respect him. And, I really hope he wins a lot of games. But he is really showcased just he has a good heart, which he means well, and he is going to do right by a lot of people. So I got to give him kudos for that. But watch the show, folks. It's on Vice. If you go to vice.com, you can see the different ways to watch and how you can find it, because I know some people are struggling with that. But check it out. It's really a good watch and really interesting. They come out with 3 episodes, and they got 3 more to go, at least 3 more to go throughout the rest of the way. And who knows, maybe we'll get into some postseason action too. But appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Neighbors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel, tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.